I call the November 24th school board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the items on the agenda? All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda for this 5-hour meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, now on to comments and suggestions from citizens. Students will save your last a little bit. Anybody in the crowd that'd like to speak to the board for 3 minutes at a time? You, Robbie? All right. Keep in mind we still have the online form and our emails are all posted online too, so you can reach any of us. All right. Students that waited to the very last minute for whatever reason in the back, if you could please stand up and state your name and your favorite. I'll make it easy tonight. Favorite Thanksgiving food.
My name is Steve McKinney. My favorite is mac and cheese.
My name is Spike Fury and my favorite food is turkey.
My name's Avery Snicker. My favorite is probably mashed potatoes.
I'm Kenzie Gabrielson and mine is mac and cheese. I'm Adela Sigler and my favorite food is having mac and cheese. I'm Nora Barnett and my favorite food is mashed potatoes. I'm Cindy Nasa and my favorite food is mac and cheese. I'm Brooklyn Bridge. My favorite is sweet potatoes. My name is Madeline Play, and my favorite Thanksgiving food is mac and cheese. My name is Alex Play, and my favorite Thanksgiving food is the turkey.
Okay, thank you. There's actually 2 meetings tonight that you get the pleasure of coming to. So after the last one, any of the people up here can sign your papers and take selfies with you. So, thank you. It's a little disappointing to hear cranberry sauce, but all right. True. All right, so we have, we have approval of the work session minutes from that, November 10th.
So moved. Second.
Moving to second, discussion on any of those meeting minutes. All right, so all those in favor of approving the work session and regular meeting minutes for those 2 days, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. On to old business, we have the second reading, Joe, for our policy committee recommendations.
Yeah, and I have no questions called in, so we have the 2 series being approved, and then also the changes that were for the law changes from the last legislative session. So recommending that we approve the second reading of all those policies.
I motion to approve the second reading. I second it.
Okay, so motion second, any discussion on the policies that were approved tonight? All right, all those in favor of approving policies, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, on to the annual treasurer report.
June 30th, 2025, treasurer's cash balance is $24,169,064. Secretary's balance is $22,616,405. Total funds interest earned for the year was $1,750,847, and that's a difference of a reduction of $510,304 for the year. That's my report.
Steve? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
16th, our financial statements are due to the Department of Ed. And those were filed and uploaded timely. That's the other attachment to the board agenda. And then this is just, you know, like my 10 so slides to kind of summarize the year. Feel free to interrupt if you have a question. I'll say just kind of highlighting what happened last year. We'll peek at the general fund, the other funds, and then just a little bit of a highlight looking at the year that we're currently in. So the general fund total assets ended at $30.7 million in the current year compared to $29.7 in the prior year. So our total assets increased about $1 million. Liabilities went from $18.7 million to $19.5 million. Really, these shifts in the balance sheet are just timing of when revenues are received versus when they're paid. If we go to the next slide, which shows the fund balance, that's really where the general fund ended at the end of the year. And the fund balance for 2025 ended at $11.2 million compared to $10.9 million in the prior year. There's different categories of fund balance. So for example, items in the fund balance can be legally restricted. Those are grants and categorical fundings. They can be assigned. Types of assigned things would be like our PTA or PTO accounts, things that we say we're going to spend on a specific purpose, or our unassigned fund balance, which can be spent on anything legally allowed in the general fund. Overall, the general fund increased its fund balance by $204,000. The restricted amounts went down a little bit due to spending down our flex money. You know, we had approved uses of flex funds in the past. We spent those down. And then teacher comp is another name for TSS. And we've changed the way that we spend that, where I just make sure it gets spent, all of it is spent as of June 30th. By law, we have to spend it every year. I just make sure it's spent on that particular day now. And then our unassigned fund balance increased to about $497,000. The next slide just shows a graphic of the unassigned versus the other categories. And the darker red is the restricted or assigned fund balances versus the lighter red. And I'm kind of just showing that I think it's good to spend the restricted monies and the categorical monies timely, and we've been working on doing that, spending them down. Looking at the revenues versus the expenditures for the general fund, revenues in the current year, or 2025, are $41.8 million compared to $41.9 million in the prior year. So revenues decreased slightly by about $168,000, which seems a little unusual. We don't usually have that happen. But fiscal year 24 was the first year that we, or the last year we had ESSER funds to spend. So we had like $900,000 worth of ESSER funds that fell off the books. And then our expenditures went from $41.5 million to $40.2 million, and they increased approximately $1.3 million from the prior year, which is a known, like every year we pay on wages and benefits going up a little bit. And then we had some one-time spends this year compared to in the prior year, like opening the rig and extra technology and stuff like that, that also went through the general fund. There's a pie chart for the category, like that shows the different sources that we get our general fund revenues from. Same as in the prior year, you know, it's primarily property tax and state sources. Federal funds last year were 6% of the total, where this year they're 3%. Else, everything else is pretty similar to the prior year. And then the pie chart on the next slide. Usually we like to look at the way we spend the money in the general fund. Salaries and benefits have been trending downward a little bit from a high of 84% of all of our spending to this last year we were at 81% of all of our spending. I did look at the state average from last year, actually it's 2 years ago. We don't have the data from all the schools yet for fiscal year 25, but the state median is still at 75%, so we're still 6% ahead of that.
Do our ADA flow through went down quite a bit.
Our what?
ADA flow through?
It did go down. Well, it went down like 1%. It's going to go down significantly this year.
Oh, okay.
Last year it went down a little bit, but this year we'll see a big change. Because of the, yeah, yep, that's coming through us, yeah. I do have a couple slides for financial indicators for the general fund. So on this slide, the unspent authorized budget, the district over the last few years have ranged from about 7 million to 12 million, with a maximum UAB range from 16% to 23%. IASB recommends 10 to 15. The state median is 25, and we ended the year at 23%, with a healthy $12.7 million of unspent authorized budget within the general fund. So overall, the general fund is healthy. And then the solvency ratio is the same. We've covered around 25% the last couple of years, and we're still sitting at 25%. Questions about general fund?
Will you explain why that's good, solvency ratio, everything here?
Well, I just think it's good to not get stuck in a downward trajectory with spending your funds in your general fund. I know we have talked a little bit about where we want to plateau, and we'll look at that. I personally think it's great timing to have a higher solvency ratio, because as you'll see on our last slide, we know enrollment is declining, which is how we get our funding in the general fund in future years, and that could be a little bit of a problem moving forward based on what our current enrollment numbers are, but the general fund has cash on hand at the end of the year, which is good.
I was just thinking the big thing is when the districts get really low on cash, then they have to borrow for payroll when the taxes, or the waiver taxes come in, so it's actually costing more for payroll. So having a high solvency ratio is extremely important, because it isn't like we get a check every month from the state, so then you have to wait, if you don't have cash, you still have to pay your bills, now you're in an issue. So that's why it's important, I think, publicly, not that it costs us more money.
I do have one slide that summarizes all the other funds within the district. I'll just touch briefly on all of them. The activity fund balance started the year with $476,000 and ended at $462,000. Generally, the activity fund brings in funds and spends it within the year that it's received. I mean, that's not unusual. We expect that. The management went from $3.4 million, the management fund, to $2.7 million. It decreased slightly. That was planned, it was anticipated, that's how we budgeted it well as we were rolling on the GO bonds and the tax levy for that. The Pearl Fund went from $750,000 to $992,000. It's generated another year's worth of tax revenue for the Y and or playground equipment purchases that we were insured. The Save Fund went from $7.9 million to $6.2 million. That really is spending down. I think it was about $1.8 million in sales tax bonds that we spent down during this year to bring those balances to zero. Apple Fund went from $1.2 million to $1.4 million. That fund brings in about $2 million a year, and that's an example of one where we only get funding for that twice a year, significant funding, after the property tax rolls are due. So I like to see that balance where it's sitting so we can do summer projects and have cash on hand in there. The other capital projects funds went from $15 million to $3 million, and then that's our GO bond money that we issued for the rest of our projects. So we just have, the $2 million sitting there still to be used, and then the $2 million that we'll get from the federal government. So that's kind of $4 that we sit at total for use to finish those out. The debt service fund ended at about $300,000 and started at $300,000. That's just where money gets transferred in to make our payments for our bond payments. And then the nutrition fund remained pretty steady, $2.8 million to $2.6 million. Remember, they had some updates at different buildings as well as here, and she was paying for some of that stuff out of her fund. Child care ended the year at $73,000 compared to $100,000. It's been a topic of conversation that is continuing to decline. I did look it up today in October. We were still sitting at $70,000, but Joe and I are keeping an eye on that. Student construction ended the year at $494 versus $690. That residual balance there we're using for our current home that we're working on, and then the Lansing Run project costs are self-insurance health fund that stayed flat at 5.2 and 5.2. We worked really hard to keep that fund healthy. So I know I'm kind of trying to talk quick, but any questions? I know we talk about it a lot. So. Looking at next year, we're wrapping up the audits for fiscal year 25. Those are going well, just about done. We don't know supplemental state aid yet. We do know enrollment decrease. We've talked about that at a prior meeting, about 2%. Our net open enrollment did go up though as well. Our budgeted revenue though for next year is based on that budgeted enrollment number. And whether SSA is 0% or all the way up to a little over 3.1%, no matter what it is in there, our new money is $239,000. That will not change because we'll be on budget guarantee. However, the greater the SSA is, that'll benefit us for next year to know how we have to pay that back. So that would be nice. And like I mentioned, our open enrollment increased 30 students. Health insurance community, we'll start working on the renewal. We were looking at numbers last month. I'm not sure that will end up flat this year, but we know that these last few months of the plan year are usually better than the first few months. So we still have a few months to see. And I believe if they announced IBER's will be flat. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on the survey annual report.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion items for Jill on this?
I would just like to say thank you, Jill, for taking all the time to present that to us in this way. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you ever want me to share anything, or just cats.
Yeah.
More spreadsheets.
You're not gonna be here.
Good job, Joe.
All right, any other questions, discussion items? All right, all those in favor of approving the certified annual report, please say aye. Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Now on to declaration of election results.
So the canvas is in your packet, so Morgan Dunn received 1,011 votes, Tracy Linden received 1,699 votes, Bankwell, Natez received 815 votes, Frank Wood received 1,092 votes, and there was a scatter of 25 votes for a total of 4,942 votes. So Morgan Dunn was duly elected, Tracy Linden was duly elected, Frank Wood was duly elected.
Thank you.
The last one is for you, so this is Mark's last 30 seconds, 40, or however long we talk.
I got a long meeting.
Do you? Awesome. Well, 8 years of service, 3 years as president?
Yes.
So thank you for all you've done. I know all of our board members know a lot of time, commitment it takes to be on the school board. I appreciate the leadership, appreciate the support that you've given me during the 8 years. And thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
The plaque did not come in, but we do have a little card that gives you a lifetime pass. So the School Board Association does give a plaque, and obviously with the elections and so close to the conferences, you don't get them in time for this. It'd be pretty hard for the school board to do that. We will get it, hold the invitation that plaque. That's right.
Thank you.
so maybe we can also.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you also, Mark, for your 8 years. We started off this journey together and learned a lot as we went, and I just appreciate your dedication, the knowledge that you brought in, and all the time. You're one of these.
I think Mark was especially excellent support. He brought a lot
for being there. I know you were president 3 out of 4 years I was here. Led us through Project 2025, which was not an easy gig to go through. It was nice to be able to call you an event, maybe discuss other things, and you've always had good thoughts. So you'll be missed on the board, and I wish you the best. I know that the last year plus your job qualifications and everything else kind of exploded, so it's hard to juggle. So I appreciate everything you've done for Forest County.
Thank you very much.
Just echo everybody else's comments, I think, you know, I appreciate, just your demeanor and your listening and working for the class. I just want to thank you and also wish you good luck in the next endeavor. I know you're not just going to stay out and not keep yourself busy, so you know, that's something else to get involved in, but anyway, just good luck, you know, with your job and your work and future and whatever your passions are.
Thank you very much. It's, I wrote this down because I know I'm gonna probably interrupt just a little bit, so bear with me on this, but, I really appreciate it all. And, so, that being said, let me touch my breath here. Glad to turn it way over there. I wrote some things down because I think it'll be a little emotional. So, please bear with me. As I sit here tonight for my final meeting, as a member of this board, I'm filled with mixed emotions. Gratitude, pride, nostalgia, and a deep sense of appreciation for the journey we've been on together. When I first took this seat 8 years ago, I knew the responsibility would be meaningful. What I didn't know was just how profoundly this service would shape me, challenge me, and ultimately change me. So it's hard to capture 8 years in one moment, but when I look back, I see a district that consistently rose to the occasion, even when the world fell upside down. We walked through challenges none of us could have made. Leading through COVID-19 was one of the hardest chapters of not only mine, I would say by all of our. There's no easy answers, no clear roadmaps, and basically we had no idea what the hell we were doing. Well, what I say was, I saw was a community, teachers, administrators, support staff, parents, and students doing everything in their power to stay connected, stay learning, and stay hopeful. It was a defining moment for us, our whole community, and I'll always be proud of how we faced it. It seemed like it went on forever. So coming out of that storm, we just didn't recover, we got stronger. Vision 2025 transformed from a concept into real classrooms, real labs, real student spaces that will serve generations to come. Walking through those new facilities and seeing them alive with learning was one of the moments that made all the long nights and tough decisions worth. The YMCA, I mean, that's really cool, guys. The facility enriches not only students, but entire families. It is becoming a hub for this community in ways we are only beginning to imagine. To have helped shepherd that vision still feels surreal, and I'm grateful to have played even a small part in bringing it to life. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Don, who was a very integral part of that. Sorry. And really took me under his wing as a partner. But tonight I want to emphasize that none of those accomplishments happened because of any one person. It takes 7 of us, and that's what we use kind of when things go bad. Like, well, I'm just 1 of 7, but in reality, it takes all of us working together to show up every day with the heart and dedication and belief that our students are the very best. To our teachers, You are the heart of this district. Your resilience, your passion, and your commitment, especially during the pandemic, were nothing short of heroic. You changed lesson plans overnight, balanced endless challenges, and still managed to inspire students. I have so much admiration, not only for that time, but just day in, day out, in the work that you guys do. So thank you. To our administrators and leadership team, thank you for your steady hands and your willingness to adapt, innovate, and lead under pressure. You guided us through uncertainty and helped execute major initiatives and always kept students at the center. Your courage and professionalism made all the difference. And to the support staff, the aides, bus drivers, custodians, cooks, office staff, tech teams, maintenance crews, and everyone who keeps this district running behind the scenes. You guys are the backbone of our schools. You are often the first faces students see in the morning and the last ones they see at the end of the day. You feed them, keep them safe, help them learn, keep their schools clean, and ensure everything works the way it should. You packed meals during the pandemic, and you sanitized buildings and delivered resources and made sure students knew they weren't forgotten. Your work often happens quietly, but is absolutely essential. I want you to know how deeply I appreciate you and how deeply this board appreciates you and how this community depends on you. To our students and families, thank you for trusting us. We don't take that lightly, especially in the moments when trust required courage. Your resilience, feedback, questions, and honesty made us better. I met so many students and families over the years, those stories reminded me why this work matters so deeply. You are the reason every decision carried weight. And now I want to speak from the heart about the people who supported me the most, my family. Serving on this board meant countless evenings away from home, lots of phone calls at all hours of the time, and thank you if I didn't get back to you right away, I really appreciate that. Emergencies during all hours of the day, not only weekends, long packets, I didn't spread them out, I used paperless, so I didn't spread them across the table on my with that. And then moments when I had to step away from being fully present. Those sacrifices weren't mine alone, they were yours. You allowed me to give my time and energy to this district, even when it meant taking time from our own family. You were patient when meetings ran late, mostly, understanding during difficult decisions, and encouraging when the weight of this role felt heavy. I want you to know that your support has meant everything to me. I could not have served this district without the foundation you provided. I also want to take a moment to reflect personally on what this experience has been. This board has taught me about leadership, patience, empathy, and collaboration. It has reminded me that progress takes time, that people matter more than policies. People always matter. And that every decision has a ripple effect far beyond the border. I've been privileged to work with people who care deeply, who argue passionately, who listen intently, and who show up because they believe in the power of public education. That level of commitment is rare, and I feel honored to have been a part of it. As I step away from this role, I do so with a full heart and complete confidence in the direction of this district. New voices and fresh perspectives will add to the momentum. And although I will no longer be seated at this table, I'll remain one of the district's biggest supporters, loudly, proudly, and always. And so I have to answer your phone calls. Thank you for the trust, the challenges, the conversations, the accomplishments, and the chance to serve. These 8 years have been one of the greatest privileges of my life, and I will carry them with me always. So I'll earn it. Thank you very much, guys.
the election of the superintendent call for nominations. Nominations need to be seconded. And then once nominations, the board votes on the people who are nominated for it, then the secretary, I'll announce, the count up, and administer the oath of office. Serena will come administer the oath of office. Then the new president takes charge. Then the election of vice president, the president does the same thing. Ask for nominations, seconds, how many are we nominated seconds, then vote, is taken, and the vice president then will continue right on. Question on that? We can if you want. I don't know if we need to amend it as long as we follow that policy, on there, the way it's described. Or just to be sure if we want, there's a second to her amendment, and we vote on the amendment, and vote on the agenda.
We're not really amending the agenda.
We are
just
just
following
following
it.
it.
I sat in the open meeting, right? Martin, what did you say? Any changes to the agenda after?
Judge Satan's sorry. Is there a second? Second? Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Now we'll be voting on the agenda as presented. So,
Motion to approve, revise it.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so first up for the president, do we have any nominations for president?
I nominate Tracy Lindeman.
Okay, we have a motion, nomination for Tracy, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Frank seconds, so Tracy Lindeman. And if you want to circle that on the ballot, I assume you still want to be written, then it can be by voice. Do we have any other further nominations? Sorry, thank you. I got busy right away. We need to swear in the three people. So if the three elected officials, board members will stand up, we'll do that. Thank you.
Do you, Frank Wood, Tracy Lindeman, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties as member of the Board of Directors of the North Scott Community School District as of now, hereafter required by law? I do.
All right. She will have to swear in the president and vice president. So now, we do have one motion, or one nomination and a second for Tracy Lindeman for president. Is there any others?
Make a motion the nomination cease.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to cease nominations. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I'm assuming since we only have one person, we just do a voice vote after this. For president, Tracy Lindeman for president. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now you switch. Yeah, just one.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties as member of the Board of Directors of the North Scott Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? I do.
So we are going to continue our election process with the vice president. Do we have any nominations for the office of vice president? impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties as member of the Board of Directors of the North Scott Community School District as of now or hereafter required by law. I do. Thank you. On to the definition of meetings.
Okay, in your packet is the meeting date that we have, so now would be the time if for some reason the board decided to change the dates, times, or whatever, otherwise it was already established for the year. So, you do need to vote on it.
So moved. Second. It's been moved and seconded to declare our meetings for the 25-26 school year. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Agenda reports.
Okay, we're recommending for 2025 school year that Land and Water will continue to be our general legal counsel, and Ambulance Committee is our legal counsel for negotiations, personnel, and financial too, right, Jill, for if we do bonds and stuff, and that them too?
Yes. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our appointment for legal counsel. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Resolution to designate financial deposit.
Yeah, so included in the packet is the resolution naming it, but the company, or the businesses that we're naming is Blackhawk Bank and Trust, First Central State Bank, First Trust and Savings, U.S. Bank, and ICEJET are our financial. And included in there is the minimum, or the maximum balance.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve our financial depository institutions. Any questions or comments about that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, we're going to do the board policy.
Yeah, so every year as part of the requirement to, is regulation, reviewing regulation 210.07R1, rules of order, those regulations, 505.08, parents and family engagement, and 503.01, student conduct, and 606.06, insufficient classroom space. The insufficient classroom space is all of our enrollment, and so just a reminder, that's probably one of all of them that we actually use on a regular basis, is when we have overall best elementary, lower elementary, 22 kids in class, that classroom is stopped for overall.
Looking for a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the review of board policies. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Approval of boosters and operating concessions.
Just approving the ground boosters, music boosters, and athletic boosters still operate our concessions.
Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our boosters for our concession stands. Any comments or suggestions? I don't know if it shakes that. Maybe for all of them. Okay, any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, official newspaper.
Yep, that's recommending that North Scott Trust continue to be our official newspaper.
Looking for a motion. I make the motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the North Scott Press as our official newspaper. Any comments? We're lucky to have you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Approval of the equity report.
Yeah, the next two again are required by, state law, have these in there, Insight, Ed Insight is, that is the state database that produces these reports, and so they were produced, so we're just looking, it was included in the packet to approve the equity report.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve our equity report. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Approval of the high school personnel.
Yeah, if you look at that, it looks very similar to that equity report again, produced out Ed Insight to show you what students are taking in high school. So, looking to have it approved.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the high school personnel data. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our consent agenda. Anybody have any comments or suggestions?
tonight to just remind you that, you know, when you look at October, November, it's just athletics, doing state tournaments, stuff. Our fine arts, our music, has done a phenomenal job. So first up is our junior high and high school honors orchestra. So we had Sophia Longwall with 8th grade violin, and then we had high school Olivia Moshan, 9th grade violin, for 9th grade viola, and then Samantha Muscat for music. Twice. Congratulations on all of that. Then we had band, we had Mason Burnett, Peyton McMahon, Zach McMahon, and Tegan Schmidt, all were all-state. And then Nathan Anderson and Zach McMahon also received full scholarships within the trad, jazz, and New Orleans. Congratulations to them. And then not to be outdone by the instruments, we have our choir. We had Marlena, thank you, Hochshoot, Nora Davis, Rachel Erickson, Ben Lytle, Charlotte Madden, Natalie Sirk, Gabe Skiles, Ben Hill, Brady Hurst, Brooklyn Lasher, Hayden Lasher, Caitlin Peck, Brennan Raddick, Adeline Reese, Nolan Reese, thank you, Sarah Van Hurst, Zach Wise, and Charlie Peterson. All were all-state choir, and Allie, thank you, Jeremiah Harrington, Adam Easter, Twin Raddick, Ben Dorsey, and Ben Samara. The only thing I would comment is many schools don't get as many males out and do such a great job with art. When you've been to our concerts and see the long distance concert, it is amazing, and just look at the success. And some of these are athletes too. That was the other thing I noticed, maybe more in the 12 years I've been here, how many athletes are also heavily involved in music. That's a big deal. So, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Steady. Okay, bills, Jill.
This evening I have $1,055,703 of bills presented for approval for payment. I selected to highlight a payment to DMO on page 4 for $5,220 to be in Sun Sports. That was for new volleyball stands that we needed at the beginning of the season. There's a payment to Bonsack and Cromwell for $12,475, which is a partial payment for the audit for the 2025 school year. And a payment to Epic Furniture for some additional items that came into the Regional Innovation Center primarily for $86,005.
Make a motion to approve bills.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of the bills for this month. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, Mr. Lee.
All right. Well, as you guys know, when you come to the different buildings, we try to showcase something that's going on, especially if it ties back to our building. And so today I just wanted to give a brief overview of something that we started this year, working with the AEA. We called it Closing the Achievement Gap because that's what the AEA titled this project. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about that. And then I also will kind of rely on Heather because Heather's been helping with this as well to share some insight as well. But a little background on this. So as everybody knows, there's been some changes with the AEA and how they service districts. And so they're looking for different avenues to push in and help support different buildings and districts around the area. And so they came to us looking to partner to try to target group areas of kids who might be struggling academically. And so for our building, we had highlighted, Heather had actually kind of worked with me, she said, hey, we noticed based on some data that your 4th grade has the highest amount of kids in your entire school and you're persistently at risk status for literacy. And over the phone, I was like, yes, this is a grade level we've been really targeting in our building for the last few years, ever since they were in 1st grade. We've tried to target more resources with our interventionists at this group, mixed up how we're trying to do different things in the classroom, but haven't had a lot of success of narrowing that number down. And so Heather came to me with the idea of working with the AAA and targeting that group to help support the fourth grade students here in our building. And we felt like this was going to be a great opportunity to lower our number of kids who are at risk in reading. So we chose fourth grade, and right now, coming into the school year, we have 67 students in that grade level. 21 of those students would be deemed persistently at risk based on their FAST screening data. That number is a little bit lower if you go by like our ISASS proficiency rates, but nonetheless, our goal is to take that number and make it a lot smaller. So what we did this year with them is we partnered up with our fourth grade teachers. We have 3 of them that were all on board with this plan and this project. We took our reading interventionists and then all of our special education teachers that work with fourth graders. So that kind of made up our team here at our building. And then the AAA provided us with 2 people with really big, heavy backgrounds in the area of reading. One, her name's Sarah Reagan, and she's actually in our building here 2 days a week supporting that fourth grade team and a group of students. And then Rachel Anderson, who's been leading professional development and supporting our teachers along the way since we started that this year. So what we've done, this group of teachers, we right away identified who of our students are at risk and trying to target and do additional assessments to figure out what is it their areas of needs are. For some students, it was, hey, there's some phonics holes missing from maybe early on. Some students, it's more comprehension based. And so as a team, we put together intervention plans for those 21 students. And that included the students who are in special education, the students who might just be seeing an interventionist, or students who might need an extra intervention also in the classroom. And then Sarah Reagan, who's now here 2 days a week, she's also pulling kids in intervention. So we have this large team of teachers all working together to provide intervention for these students. And then just last month, so we've been providing intervention for about 10, 11 weeks, we've started these data reviews where we pull all of our recent data on the students that we've been giving, some internal assessments, some stuff that we've done through the requirements through the state and FAST testing. And then our plan is to get together again right after the new year to take another look at the data and then remix up our groups again based on the performance and how students are doing. Alongside of that, we've also used our Early Out Fridays to engage in different professional learning, also led by Sarah and Rachel, working with our teachers to provide intervention on targeted 2 interventions in the area of reading. And so not only is that impacting our fourth graders, but that's also been helping our other classroom teachers coming up with new strategies to best support the students. They've given us some different tips and tricks on things fluency-based, some phonics-based, and then some comprehension-based, and it's been beneficial for our upper grade levels, even if they're not working with those teachers, just finding new ways to kind of integrate the vocabulary instruction to help kids not only increase their reading fluency, but their comprehension. So that speaks to just, these are some of the things that we've been using in that professional development. And then you guys may be aware, but Heather's been leading up our special education, our SDI training, and that has really gone hand in hand with the work that we're doing with this group. In fact, the work that we did in Module 5 just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we plan on taking those strategies and applying them to the kids that still aren't making the progress that we would expect based on the intervention they're receiving. So again, these are just some of the resources and professional development that we've received with the help of the AAA for our fourth grade teachers and all teachers in our building. So, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, really our end goal is we'd like to decrease the number of students in fourth grade who are persistently at risk. Our goal is for a minimum of 80% of our kids to be successful with just tier 1 instruction. Obviously that helps promote a healthy system in the sense of we're going to provide intervention services. We want it to be at a number that's manageable. And then the real goal, which has been our building goal for the past year, is ensuring high quality tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, that they're being implemented for students who are in need of support. So that goes beyond just what our current fourth grade students need, but for all students at Allen and Shepard. Anyway, so that's kind of an update on something unique going on in our building. I would say, it's been very successful, and I could see Heather and working with other building principals next year going, okay, where do we notice some gaps in different buildings at different grade levels, and trying to apply some of the same things that we've done this year at other buildings. So. Any questions?
guess I had one.
Yeah.
As a board, we've been hearing a lot about strategies for dyslexic students. That would be something that this would address students that need strategies and assistance in the dyslexia.
Yeah, so I would say one of the things that a lot of our teachers have started taking base is the letters training. Now that was provided by the state. That was kind of outside of just this. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think I might be guessing, but I'd say 9 or 10 of our teachers here down in Shepard, of our 20 classroom teachers I know have participated in letters training or are currently participating in letters training. And there is some information that helps support students with that. But also, the UFly that we're using for phonics is systematic, instruction for the areas of reading. And a lot of the intervention strategies from the Florida Center and these, if you click on this link here, it's provided some of the stuff, would work with teachers on addressing some of those things. Obviously not something to diagnose or anything like that, but different strategies to help support all readers.
Sarah and the two AAU members, Sarah and Rachel, they're both have their certificate for their dyslexia program and modules that they've taken, so they're bringing some of that learning to us as well.
And as you guys are aware, we're doing the piloting with our new reading programs as well, which I think will have probably an impact on all the rollout and some of the stuff too.
Just be good to get a report on this periodically.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, happy to share. We're about a third of the way through the year. My hope is if by the end of the year we have some good numbers to show the progress of our students. But
It's the beginning, it's just good status progress. It's great to see.
John Glenn did have good
Yeah,
results.
I know.
We did that. The other thing that you realize is before, think back 6 years ago, SIM was our intervention. We talked about SIM, we talked about STEM, and we still do SIM. Don't get me wrong. It's a good a good framework with a lot of the same interventions, but we're starting to add more tools. So that's the one thing you're different hearing now, and the other thing I would point out, that letter training is 100 hours.
It's intense. It is.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of teachers across the district engaging in that training on their own. Because they want
$500 stipend for 100 hours worth of work. The state pays for it, so it doesn't cost them anything. That's outside of school time. And so, out of our TQ money, teachers who have done it, and there's level 1, level 2, or 1 and 2, it's making a big impact when we talk to our teachers. It's just more tools in the tool shed to address kids who are struggling.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of our teachers here. Have been super open to not only getting critique or feedback from the AAA and trying to apply that, but been very collaborative. One of the things I'm probably most proud about in our building, we have teachers who are very flexible and always willing to collaborate. But I think this is just another opportunity. It shows our 4th grade teachers, our special ed teachers, our interventionists, everybody's getting around the table and everybody's willing to try new things and try to help support our students. So.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, committee reports, none. New business, school bus.
All right, school bus, it's just the timeline here for tonight. We're looking at November 25th, opening up the bids, sending bids out, getting bids on the 10th, and then going to the board meeting on the 15th. We'll talk about Pebble in a while. We're at the point where our budget only buys 2 buses. And they're talking about another $15,000 increase again this year for new buses. So they are starting to get extremely pricey.
So looking for a motion to approve the bus. It's been moved and seconded to approve school bus purchase timeline. Any questions or comments?
How many buses do we need?
We tried to buy 3 a year, is what we were doing. 2 a year. Propanes are lasting longer, so we're okay with 2 right now. But it generally hasn't ever been even the engines that go bad. If you of us, they rust out. And so at some point, probably 2 won't be enough, buying 3 at a time. But we'll wait and see.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, superintendent's report.
This is a recommendation, guys. I was just so public, I was not involved in this one, but I will say it's in your packet, and the board did the interview with recommendations for Rain Associates to the search firm, and included in there is the wording of the contract.
So I would just add to that, that Mr. Steady has given his exit plan for summer of 27, which we're all aware of. And we spent a long evening interviewing some firms. We went through some other paperwork prior to that, and this is what we came up with. So looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved to the second to keep our superintendent search firm. Would anybody else like to add to that?
So what would they provide to us soon at their timeline as well?
Right, now that we've approved them, we will have some open communication and we'll start getting some timelines in place and all of our different scenarios. We as a board will talk that through and they'll be giving some great guidance.
I would anticipate you might have a work session coming, especially so that we're all sitting around the table so you can hear, okay, here's what we'll do, and everybody's on the same page. So the question is we're also interviewing architects on the 8th, is do you have time between now and Christmas to do it? So I would recommend at least try to see if there's another date or something in there as a work session potentially.
It's my understanding they're going to get a hold of you, Tracy, as the president, to discuss when that would be, because they're going to want to take a look and see, get their feet on the ground and start running. We do have some time.
That's what I was thinking, but we will definitely be in communication. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Neil Armstrong Playground.
Yeah, so we got a quote from Park Planet. It was one of the two companies that have done our playgrounds in the past. They are also part of the ADA purchase, so you don't have to go out and bid it out on our own because they've already been part of the bid process. We're a state purchase. What's unique about Neil Armstrong and also unique about John Glenn, they're really a 1 year because it's for Neil Armstrong for this price for $288. It's new equipment, new surface, and then that donated one that we put in for rubber chips, that would become a rubberized surface too. So by doing this, Neil Armstrong's done, probably done for 15 to 20 years. And again, I sent out to you guys earlier today just to remind you, this is year one of really an 8-year process to bring all playgrounds and all surfaces up to date. And so we're recommending you go ahead and go with Park Planet for $288,140. And new playground and a new surface on the newest playground.
And so this is come out of
Pearl.
Pearl Fund.
Correct.
Earlier, and this is also, my communication with Joe is that all administrators and all the schools are timeline.
They are. So what the process we did was, as I talked to them, they just said, listen, Andy is the one deal with them all the time. They trust Andy and myself. So Andy and I went around, and I probably have tours like 20,000. We went around and evaluated every single playground. And all of them with the old square all need to be replaced. So then it starts coming out, okay, which ones have the most like rust coming through there, or the rubber's totally off, and that's where Neil Armstrong clearly has the one that's most beat up that needs to be replaced. Then John Glenn was next, and then that's how we just did. We just went around and went through and looked at the oldest equipment, and just tried to order it the way we could. So, yep, that's how I came up with it. And it's been agreed.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Second.
Please move to the second to approve the Neil Armstrong Playground quote. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Yes,
Jill?
Jill?
Yes, I think this is my last time, I'm sorry, I was looking at my notes. I really love working. For the SBRC request that we have this year. So this time of year, we can request for a modified supplemental amount for increased open enrollment, increased enrollment, or EL instruction beyond 5 years. We have 2 of the 3. We had increased open enrollment out that was not on the prior year count, and then the 5-year EL instruction beyond 5 years. So for the first one, I'm asking to submit a request to the SBRC for $121,200 for enrollment out and $3,354 MSA for the 5-year bus English and language learners. No, I think we do have to do two, and they both have to be roll call. Yes.
Okay, so looking for
Sorry.
a motion for the first amount of $1,200
For the open enrollment.
for the open record.
I'll make a motion to approve the open enrollment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the open enrollment request. Any questions for Jill? All those in favor, roll call please, Molly.
Berthold, aye.
Would I?
Eckhart, aye.
Capriano.
Tipper, aye.
Dunn, aye.
Lindemann, aye. Motion passes. Okay, looking for a motion for the second request for the school record committee amount.
Make a motion for the English learners instruction and beyond.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
What does it mean by when I see the 5 years of waiting, including false improvement? What does that mean?
They have already, there's a test that they take, it's level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some exceed that, and that still requires services. It's how they rate the ELL students. The only other comment I'd add, if you're still in comments, is remember, this is authority, not cash. I go back to Tony's question, why is it so important to have cash? You always take authority when you take it. You never, the recommendation, if we sat in 101 and they said about it 2 or 3 times, you got the opportunity to take authority, but always remember, it doesn't mean cap. We just didn't gain $121,000 as a district. That's why it's important to have cash on hand in case you need to spend it. We watch those 2 items.
Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Berthold, aye.
Would I?
Eckhart, aye.
Capriano. Tipper, aye.
Dunn, aye.
Lindemann, aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Capital elections section.
Yeah, it's just a discussion, I'm not asking for anything, but because the timeline is coming up, because we had a number of work sessions, we didn't do our typical fall finance work session. Prior to this meeting, I wanted to start putting in everybody's minds that this March is the time to run our Pebble again, 10-year Pebble. For writers, when you want to run it, plenty of time before it expires in case it fails. Then you have a chance to run it again. The other reason is everybody in Quad Cities will be running a couple on the 3rd. So it'll be a special election countywide. It's the same story for everyone. The difference between us and the neighboring districts is all the other ones are already at $1.67 and we're $37.34 and we're 30 cents less than them. And so I'll talk about that here in a little bit, why we may want to have a conversation about going to the max amount. But if you look, I put on there just the time frame and why we're starting the discussion tonight, because already 6 to 8 weeks prior to March 3rd, we need to pass a resolution. That's darn near soon to get back to Christmas break, so we need to get this process started. And so there's a timeline there for you. And then I just did do that comparison to, Davenport, Benedorf, and Pleasant Valley are all at $1.67, while we're at $1.30 because we do the lower amount for it. Even if you pass the higher amount, you still every year have to set your Pebble. You could always one year do $1 instead of $1.37, right? So you give that flexibility. The reason I think we need to start considering, I mentioned tonight, for example, we're down to 2 buses. I included in the last page is if you look at our actual and all the way kind of how we budgeted out to 2029 on Fund 36. Fund 36 is Pebble. And so you can see where, how much we've set aside. And we know that this year we had $309,000 we're going to spend on buses. That was for 2 buses. We believe it went up 30,000. That means when you go through the next one, it's probably going to be more like 350, 360. And so we know that amount has to go up. We know that fixing things, repairing things has to go up. Technology, our subscriptions, that continues. We get more and more. So right now we're looking at bringing in a communication system that will try to simplify how we communicate with people, or with our family stuff, the whole district. That's going to still be a subscription, it costs money. And so I think things are going up, and the unknown of whether it gets locked in at our rate. If we look at risk 20 years ago, districts that were not maximizing their at-risk got stuck at that percentage, like 2%, 3% of at-risk, but we're at 5%. And now we're fighting to get that money. So I think we just had to think about what does the new property tax law mean, what are our needs, and what other things could eventually be coming out of here to help the general budget. Because as Bill talked about earlier, we're down kids next year. Next year's budget will be 1%. The following year, we're going to pay back some of that or help farm less. There are things you can do with that can free up general budget money out of Fund 36, but probably also means we ought to be considering going for the higher amount. So I wanted to, let you guys think about that a little bit, let you know that now is the time for us to start putting a resolution together. And because we didn't have that meeting, I did not. That's why I put it on for discussion items tonight. And Bill answer any questions.
Any other questions for Joe at this time? Moving on to your report.
All right. So the enrollment report's in there. Just a recap for myself, and I don't know if you guys want to take this time or take your own time. I thought the school board convention was one of the better ones. That second keynote speaker, I thought was amazing. At first you're like, oh, this is really good. She just talked about athletics. She's a news reporter, a sports reporter, and then to tell her family life story, connect education, and how we can make a difference for not one child but an entire family. I thought was impressive. I went to a couple really good sessions. I know Mark was here, but you guys also hired teamwork. We presented, we had a great time presenting. Went to one on AI policies and things. In fact, I brought a sheet back to the company, the big company that does nationwide, that Dan will be able to use as we take a look at it. And as soon as I got back, Dan already said, he said, hey, we're working with this, I'm looking at our policies we're doing on the slide, apply for that. So I just thought there were a ton of great sessions. I know you guys went to a lot of different sessions than I did. I thought it was one of the better school board conventions. And we're one of the few districts, probably less than 10% of all schools, that 100% of our school board members went to the school board convention to learn and take it seriously and go to the sessions. So thank you for doing that because it doesn't happen regularly throughout the state.
So we will give it just a second, and if ever you would want to say anything out of it, I'll let you start.
Yeah, sure. I went to the legislative where we vote on priorities is Wednesday, so it's always fun, so we can, impact a couple of the policy changes, attendance and some of the preschool stuff the last couple of years that has come out of that. Every district has a delegate, so together, one of those things. And then I went to the AI class as well. Williamsburg, really good. How their staff uses it, mainly at the elementary schools, but just for information, lesson plans, safe information pages for the kids to go to. So it was really interesting. They did say that I think three districts in Iowa actually had policies, but they went to how the use of them, generic policies. Policies basically, but it's more for how they use it in the classroom. So they had to imagine to colleges to see what colleges does. It was interesting. And then I wanted to do that session. So good.
Although, okay, Frank's going to pass, but Frank is also on the board of the IASB, who is very. You'll follow, okay. Stephanie?
I went to the second keynote speaker breakout session, and it was really interesting. I never thought about different ways to talk to leaders, and it was pretty interesting to never say that. I thought it was interesting to not send them a comment, but it's okay to tell me to call back a certain time. A couple times I've been called before I got elected. It was like, oh, I got to talk to you right now. No, you don't. So it was very interesting. It was from the same lady that worked for ESPN, so she was giving us the flip side of it. So it was good.
I went to one of the financial sessions, the 301. Always lots of information, good information, talking about all the school financials. They focused a lot on TSS, which gave our teachers some increases here last year, and just how that might impact some school districts. So it was interesting to hear them talk about that. Also went to the AI one that Motley was at. That was pretty neat to see the different curriculum that the elementary schools were using based upon AI.
blessed group of people that are doing the right things every day, not ever let down our guard. And so there were a lot of good pointers and things to make sure that we're initiating in our district work, buildings, not kiddos. So that's good.
And Morgan, she came even though she wasn't scoring. You were right on that.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, there's a couple sessions for new members, which I thought were really, critical to new board members. I also went to a breakout session on property tax. That's going to be a big conversation the next couple of years. And to say it's complicated is not quite the right term. And I also went to the one about community relations. Muscatine did a really great presentation. They were very candid on how they have been struggling and how they bridged that gap and how these simple meetings that they were doing made a world of difference. So it just shows that something simple and that might be obvious can really be.
I was also in the safety breakout, which was a lot of information. I think it's always good when you're always willing to learn and to improve. But I think my favorite speaker was Anne Marie Anderson. She was really engaging and just had a lot of wonderful things to say and things to think about. So thank you again, everybody, for taking the time. I think it was just setting for me see that it's important to do that. Okay, calendar.
So school calendar, I put a rough draft in there. This calendar and the rough draft that I gave you is really the exact same calendar as this year. So some of the questions, I'll send out a survey next Monday when we get back after break, the staff get input before winter break. Some of the things I'm asking is, one is what did you think about the conference week with that Friday off? Remember that added day really onto the end of the year because we still take off with this Wednesday, and that used to be the conference comp day. Many schools will not take a full 2 weeks off because of, what is the 24th on Thursday. And so this year, next year will both be kind of like that because then the 24th is going to be on Friday the following year. And so like I know Pleasant Valley plans on going into school to the 23rd or something like that. We take 2 weeks off, I think, since I've been here. When we surveyed staff in the past, we have asked it, even though you get done before Memorial Day, you got to pull really 4 days out of the calendar then. You do 3, and then that Friday that we took for that mini fall break on conference week. I'll be surprised if people would say I'd rather get out Friday part of the Thursday before Memorial Day. I like to do it on a Thursday, so in case we get more than 2 snow days, you can still go Friday before you get through the next week. But that's probably the one thing that could be done different. It is also weird to look at the calendar, we go on spring break and turn around, come right back. Good Friday is the very next Friday. That's just Easter. It could either be in March or late April. It just is what it is. But it does make the calendar a little bit different. Other than that, we still have the 2 built-in snow days on this sample, but we'll get try to get staff to give us input. Last year, there were 212 people which is survey that are on staff. And that's teachers, custodians, associates, they get sent to all staff.
Winter break schedule?
Winter break schedule is just a reminder, December 22nd for January 1st is by appointment. A lot of people, we use up their vacation in that time. Like this Wednesday, we might just be one person in the office. And so, but if somebody needed something, we would make sure that they would take us. Please call if you need something during the
Okay, board comments and correspondence.
Okay, first of all, I would like to just say thank you to each one of the board members and Joe for attending the convention. As Joe said, there aren't many full boards that show up. I'm well aware of 10 to 12 that I took pictures with during that short half hour to 45 minutes, and I think I asked Jesse as well. That collective 10 to 12. Now, there were other boards there that were getting a board award because they had the majority of their board get a individual award. But to have a full board, it's very, very rare. So thank you for all being there. You do have a lapel pin that I gave you. It's the Lighthouse. And I talked to Morgan real quick. The Lighthouse study. If you're not familiar with that, please go out and take a look at it. Something Iowa did 20 years ago, where they said that high-functioning boards produce high-functioning schools. And I commend Carrie for going to 301. I had to go there because I was working that session, and the guy that gave it is very passionate, like Jill, with numbers and spreadsheets. But he knows it forward and backward. The one thing I walked away from there is that the property tax bills that were trying to be pushed through last year in our legislative session, it all sounds good, but the residential is going to get hit hard on all three proposals. So with that, I think Michael even said that he doesn't look for anything to go through, because what they're trying to do is get a total residential rollback somehow. So nobody's going to get it, but what they've gone out there so far is that residential will be the ones to pick up the slack. Outside of that, I had on Friday, ISD boards met, and we did our overview of the convention. The big thing is that we thought it was probably the best attended. And for Morgan, did you go to okay. The open meetings, the mandatory open meetings training, over 300 people. And I thought the staff did a nice job. To me, something very boring. But they had everybody in the crowd be engaged. They gave a scenario, talked to your table partner, came back with what you say, and then they had basically yes, no, maybe yes, maybe no. And it was just like delegate assembly where they got to vote, and they had a collection of all the votes. And I would say probably 90%, 95% of people voting at the right answer. So I think that's something that's going well. But I agree with you. Anne Marie Anderson was top notch. I know that we're going to take her name to national to see whether she can talk, because her story was very powerful. So thank you for everybody for being up there. I know it's a long 2 days, but well worth it.
Well, thanks for your extra time.
No problem.
Anybody else?
I don't hear any questions about holidays, it's better for board and partners. Probably in January, if you don't mind. I just figure out which
Typically, it's been Sunday,
Yeah.
like from 5 to 7, 5 to 8 on Sunday is what it's last 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also think, am I correct, moved to the committee choices?
Well, the next month, so committees would have been on, it's added on, but we pulled it off because the person's getting seated now, some get adjusted, I know we have less, but it would be hard for us tonight to try to figure out the committees when we want somebody to take some time to take a look at the committee. So the next meeting, we'll review the committees, take a look at it. So if you're currently on a committee that you want to move off of, or what, I think it should say, well, they're going to take whoever seat they took, so all their committees. So take a look at it, so we'll do that next month.
I also want to welcome morning.
Anybody else have anything? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.